Thanks for tuning into No Wine in No Time. I'm your host Dave, and today we're going to talk about a black skin red wine grape that's just as important to worldwide winemaking as Cabernet Sauvignon, and that's a grape called Grenache. Depending on where Grenache is planted, we may see it termed Grenache, Garnacha, Grenache Noir, or also Cannonau. But today there are over 500,000, yes, 500,000 acres of Grenache under vine worldwide. So it is quite significant. Now, where did Grenache get its roots? It gets it on the Iberian Peninsula, yes, what's modern-day Spain, with the ancient kingdom of Aragon. And Aragon actually, while it was located in what is modern-day Spain, it had influence in areas that are now modern-day France and Italy. So very Mediterranean, and that's perfect for this type of grape. This grape presents a few challenges to the winemaker, and the first thing is that it buds very early, and also it ripens very late. So with that long cycle, it needs intense heat and considerable dryness to reach full maturity. But when Grenache is mature and it produces a wine, it really is an exceptional wine for a multitude of reasons. And first off, Grenache has a very high sugar content when mature. Now, with a high sugar content, we can produce a more highly alcoholic wine. Also, it has a moderate tannin level, a moderate acidity level, and a moderate coloring level. So let's take a look at that Mediterranean circle of influence and look at some areas where Grenache is really epic. And one that I like to focus on is an area called Châteauneuf-du-Pape. And Châteauneuf-du-Pape is in the southern part of Rhône, in the southern part of France, right off the Mediterranean. In Châteauneuf-du-Pape, we produce these tremendous cuvées from up to 13 different grapes. But the king grape in that mix is always Grenache, where by law, the blend has to be at least 60% Grenache. So think of some of the other more dominant grapes that we would blend in that area of southern France. Think things like Syrah, Mourvèdre, and even grapes like Counois. So why would we blend Grenache with those other grapes? So Grenache, overtly fruity, medium acidic, medium tannic. So where are some of the gaps in that wine? Well, if we add Syrah, for example, we've now added a spiciness and a little bit more tannins to the blend. If we add Mourvèdre, we've added now significant tannins and more structure to the wine. If we add Counois, we've now added significant aromatics to the wine, which really tends to balance it out. So this is why some of those classic wines of the world are blends of multiple different grapes, but always anchored by one specific grape, in this case, Grenache. So when we think about Grenache and kind of the epic amount of plantings around the world, there are some areas that we also want to focus on because Grenache is done better than in other parts of the world. And that's because of the use of ancient or old vines. So going back to Châteauneuf-du-Pape, for example, and also we'll fold in an area in Spain called Priorat. These ancient bush vines, which have these gnarly, kind of heavily wooded vines, produce a very small amount of fruit. And because of that, the fruit that's left on those Grenache vines are of exceptional quality. For example, if we look at the Greater Rhône region, an average Côte de Rhône wine will result from about a 5-ton per acre harvest. If we go to Châteauneuf-du-Pape, for example, that harvest is reduced to 2 tons per acre. If we go to Priorat in Spain, that drops to just 1/2 ton per acre. Think, 1,000 pounds of fruit in an entire acre of harvest. Very, very small. Because of that, the quality goes up high. So The wine that I chose for you today is one that is just 100% Grenache, which is a little bit difficult to find. The reason why I got that is because I wanted Grenache to be kind of laid naked in front of us so we could see just how that grape functions. So this one is a wine that is labeled just Vin de France, in other words, a wine from France. No AOC, no sub-AOC, just a wine from France. Most likely it comes from Languedoc or Rhone, or maybe grapes coming from both those areas. And the name of the wine is Génération 1905. So it's basically a commune that's been producing wine in that area since 1905. So let's take a look at the wine. First thing that we'll notice is the wine is a little bit transparent. It's very kind of garnet or dark ruby in its color, and it's quite clear. If we swirl to liberate the aromas, the first thing that leaps out of the glass, or a kind of a melange of red fruits. Think everything from plums to cherries, a little bit of orange peel or orange zest, and a little bit of spiciness, almost dried herbs. So let's go ahead and taste the wine. If you've had these other blends from the south of France, you'll notice that they tend to be a little more broad across the spectrum. If we taste this 100% Grenache, the first thing that comes across the palate is this very overtly cherry flavor. It almost tastes like a cherry liqueur. Then it kind of fades into a little bit of plum, and all the way around the side of the palate we see the beautiful acidity and also the influence of garrigue, or wild herbs that grow in that vineyard. On the back side of the palate we do feel the influence of the tannins, but we also feel a little bit of that, I'm going to come back again to that orange zest. There's a little bit of an oranginess or an orange rind on the back side of the palate. So a very fruity wine, but not a sweet wine. It is quite dry in its presentation. So something like this, what we would use it for as far as food pairings are concerned, I love a 100% Grenache with all things grilled. And it really can run the gamut from pork products. I love it with ribs, maybe with some barbecue sauce, to a little bit of pork tenderloin, even to steaks on the grill. Really quite flexible. So I'm going to get back and enjoy a little bit more of this Grenache, and I ask that you come back next time, because soon you'll know wine in no time.